we are at the Bodyvision mansion. Oh man, here's my baby.
All right, man, here she is, right? It's been a while. What's up, man? How's the drive? Good?
How's it going? Drive was great.
Good,
no weather, you know, no rain, and look at this thing.
Yeah.
It's definitely like a valve cover wrinkle red look to it.
Yeah, it was fun, man. I'm glad that I got to do it because it's always cool to experiment with something that we haven't really done before.
Here she is. She looks totally different from when we dropped her off the other day.
Yeah, man. So with the shock tower extensions, I dropped the subframe. It's just a little easier to get everything by dropping the subframe, right?
Oh yeah, and look at that. It's all the way down underneath there. You know, me and Mike were talking about how crappy my subframe looked.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I should find another one, maybe powder coat it, but this looks pretty good there.
Dropping it out is just like you can either spend an hour masking it off or 20 minutes to drop it. Just drop it, right? It makes sense to just get it out of the way, you know.
Yeah.
So we got the engine bay, we got the inside. Now it's your guys' turn.
Yeah, right. So everything looks pretty straight. All the little holes for the moldings are all out of there. That looks great. That was one of the things that bothered me the most about the car with the EX doors. And I know these are SIR fenders, so they're supposed to come with little moldings. So now it looks like a real VX to me.
Right. And it's kind of cool that this is factory side marker but shaved. That combo doesn't
exist. It doesn't exist. You can't buy that anywhere.
Right.
And then my biggest thing that was keeping me up at night is the rust. And man, this thing looks just like it is stock. You could see the welds on it, but I'm not worried about seeing where the repair is. I'm worried about there not being a hole. This car is not a show car. This car, we're going to drive the crap out of it and enjoy it.
I had some scrappers the other day because I'm cutting apart this town car right now, so I just made a post saying if anybody wants some free scrap metal, come pick it up. And they went crazy and they picked up your extra piece. I said, hey, they can have it.
They can have it. Yeah. The other sides had rust on it too, so I was like, that's perfect.
So,
but yeah, no, she came out great. Yeah. Definitely ready for the next phase with Brian. The interior is awesome. It's exactly what I want, and it's everywhere.
Yeah, the roof too.
I feel like this is going to ride a little quieter and hold up to all the abuse of the car. Now we got to load her up, bring her back home, and actually, we got a little car meet to go to, don't we?
Yeah, so let's get it loaded up, and then we'll head out.
All right, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool.
What's going on, everybody? Mike here, AX Garage. Welcome back to the channel. As you guys can see, we got John's Civic hatchback back from Bodyvision. He have done all of the body work, including some rust repair and some really interesting coating. And John's going to tell you guys a little bit more about it.
So we got the car back here. You guys saw my first impressions of it when I picked the car up from Bodie at his house. And now we got it back over here. Over there we talked about some of the stuff that he did, but here we can look at it a little bit closer. So a couple of my main concerns was the engine bay. I wanted the strut tower extensions put on here just in case we get some really heavy suspension movement when we do some track racing, curbing, whatever it is, or if I want to go a little lower on the car for a different look. We won't have any interference, won't damage the upper strut towers. He also did some body work and Bondo on it here to make the transition really smooth, and then coated everything with this tinted red Raptor liner, which is something I got a little idea from my buddy Steve. He did his engine bay like this on his hatchback a long time ago, and you know, I wanted to carry it on. So we went ahead and he removed a bunch of studs off the firewall and a couple of brackets here and there. This, I would not call it shaved, it's just cleaned up a little bit. All the factory seam sealer body lines and holes are there. If I end up wanting to use it, any of these threaded holes, I just got to run a tap through it and then it's good to go. He put some bolts in some of these for me too, so I don't have to worry about it. So overall, engine bay is nice. He even dropped the subframe and did it underneath, so we have really good coating on there. He also threw some black paint on the subframe, so it looks a little bit better than I did before. Under the hood, very happy with that. Now, moving down to the side, I have SIR fenders on here, but SIR fenders come with a molding. So I had him fill the molding because the holes for the molding, because my whole deal with this car is I want it to be like an actual VX. VX doesn't come with side moldings, it just comes with the relief for it. These are also EX doors, and I had him fill those moldings holes across the side as well. I think everything came out pretty good. I'm really happy with that. I had a little bit of rust in this area here and up here, which it's been taken care of. Now moving back around here, we had a huge issue where I had a hole, all this was rusted out. And you can see in Adam's video how he went ahead and dealt with this. I had a roof cut off of another hatchback, and he went ahead and cut this section out and welded in a new one. He even made a jig to make sure that the hatch holes line up properly. That repair, this was the thing that was giving me anxiety. There was also a hole on the side here. He dealt with that as well. So everything looks pretty good. Probably have to knock some of the seam sealer off so we can get the roof seal to fit in properly, but overall, super happy with all that. There was a little surface rust here too, that was taken care of. And then you can take a look on the inside and really get a feel for what we got going on here. I had Adam go ahead and do the entire interior in the Raptor liner, including our roof too. So it should keep some noise down under the car. It's also going to give me some pretty good durability and longevity on the inside of the car, because as I've been saying with this, I intend to drive this car a lot, and I want to be able to throw stuff in the car, not damage the inside. I am not against a beautiful, glossy, clear-coated interior, but the problem is it's not going to hold up as good, and I don't want to have to worry about scratching a finish and polishing the inside. But all I know is that when Brian gets his hands on here, he's going to put the finishing touches on it, then it's just going to be a completely beautiful car. All right, so you saw us tear this motor down in our other video. Now we just got it back from the machine shop, and here's what we had done. As you can see, we have some very nice pistons in here. These are Wiseco 11 6-to-1 compression Type-R spec pistons, and they're 81.5 millimeter. I wanted to overbore it just enough in order to ensure the proper cylinder ring seal, and so that everything is true and totally round. Over the years, these cylinders are going to wear, so it's oversized and then reassembled, balanced, blueprinted. Everything's been cleaned at the machine shop. It's a local muscle car shop, and they've been taking care of us for a little bit here. They also did Mike's motor for his Civic and his EM1, and that was a stock motor, and we had to overbore that too. Same situation. His cylinders were out of round, and we didn't want to have any smoking or blow-by issues. So they did the same job. And then to put together with those pistons, I had them mounted to some beautiful Eagle H-beam rods. And I also went ahead and had them balance and do all of the main bearings on the motor too. When they were doing the main bearings, they found that a few of these caps were ovaled out of round. So they had to take it back apart again and line bore the mains to ensure that everything fit and rotates properly. At this point, we pretty much can rev this motor wherever we want. For my little bit of supercharger boost, I didn't feel that it was necessary to sleeve the motor, so that's why we didn't go that far. Pistons, rods, probably overkill for the entire job, but you know, I like to overbuild all my stuff because I want to be able to send it every single time and not have to think about, oh, is my rod getting messed up? Is my bearing going to go? We have a whole list of new Honda parts to go with this and a bunch of aftermarket parts. The cylinder head is at the machine shop. The other machine shop getting a full refresh, including valve guides, springs, retainers, everything. So for a 300+ horsepower motor, I may have overbuilt it a little bit, but at least we know it's going to be perfect. And like you can see, clean, beautifully assembled, I can't wait to put this thing back in the car. And all right, so here we are. We're at Cylinder Head Depot. They called me yesterday, said the head's ready, said they tested everything.
JDM B series. JDM B series exhaust side.
Made sure that the compression's proper, the valve guides are installed the way they're supposed to be. So let's go in and see what we got. This place is old school. They've been doing it for years. All right, we got the cylinder head. It looks beautiful, ready to go. Let's get it back to the shop and start putting stuff together. All right, so we got the motor back from the machine shop. We got it on the engine stand. This is where the Master B Series engine builder, I mean, we love this stuff. So we're gonna do it together. So we're gonna start putting it together real basic. We're gonna put the head on the block. We have, can you hand me that, Mike? We have our Cometic head gasket. It's 81.5 since we went oversized with it. You could technically run an OEM head gasket, but this one's proper for it. So we're gonna go ahead and get everything ready. We're gonna install our head studs, which we have ARP head studs. Then we're gonna put our head dowels on, then our head gasket. Then we're gonna take our head, which is, man, this thing's ready to scream. We're gonna bolt it on. Then after that, it's just adding all the other accessories, hoses, new seals. We got new oil pump. We got new everything for this. So let's go ahead and get started on it. So just to make sure we're doing everything right, Miguel actually called ARP today and he got some input on them on the proper way to install these. There's a lot of different options or ways people say, but we figured let's just call the manufacturer. And what did they tell you?
So I really call them to talk about the different ways of seating these studs, because I wasn't sure, do we run them all the way down, back them off? I've seen people doing both ways, and he told me, he says, with these particular ones, you run them down, hand snug them, don't torque them. He says most importantly is to make sure all the threads have the assembly lube on it.
This is their special
ultra torque lube. Light coats on the threads. He said very important on the washers, make sure you have front and back side, and on the threads of the nut, and then you're good to go. So you run these down, just run them in the block, snug them, you're done.
They have a little place on the top for an Allen key. It's a 13/16, and then you would just put it in and spin it down like that. But it's also very important, like Miguel said, that we coat the threads with the assembly lube. The major thing on this, from what he found out, is the lubrication.
Yeah.
It has to be done the right way, or else you don't get proper torquing on everything, and that's what we're going to do right now.
All right.
So you can see there's two different sides. This is the one that goes into the block. This is the one that sticks up. It has the Allen key on it. So he's going to take that and he's going to make sure that all the threads have a light coat of the ARP assembly lube on it. Up.
Yep.
Boom. That's everything, right? The spec from ARP calls for 3 equal steps to 80 foot-pounds. So that means we'll divide it by 3, give or take.
Yeah.
So we can do, I figure what we'll end up doing is 30, 60, and then 80. That's what Miguel was saying.
Sounds good to me.
All of our Honda usual starting torques are either 22 or 30. So we'll do that. That helps seat the head gasket nice and flat, and then we'll move on. So let's go. We're set at 30. Should get there quick. All right, so the head is torqued down, and here's a good opportunity to take a look at what we have going on with the Valvetrain. What we have is all SuperTech titanium retainers with their dual valve springs with blocks spring LMAs to replace the factory hydraulics. This is all overkill for the setup, but running a naturally aspirated motor that if you want to rev it high with a larger profile cam, this is what you would be looking to do. On my setup, eventually it'll be supercharged, maybe whatever pounds the supercharger makes. I'm sure it'll be no more than 12 to 14 PSI. This is going to be more than enough. It'll never float a valve, but the whole idea is to be able to beat the crap out of it as much as I want and know that nothing up here is going to fail. Motor's totally overbuilt. That's the way I like to do them. I feel like what's the point of building a motor and only upgrading it as far as you need and then having a failure on a part that you skipped on? So why not spend all the money on it one time, don't have a failure. It's getting harder to get a hold of these parts, and these heads are just going up in value and scarcity, and it's just something I don't want to have to rebuild again. So that's why we went the whole way on it. So that's on. Next thing we're probably gonna end up doing is putting our oil pump on. Then we have to put our water pump on. We have our new tensioner, that's our timing belt tensioner, it's gonna go on here. Once we have all that on, then we can start installing the cams with our cam plug and our cam seals, and that way we can start putting everything together. Once everything is in, we're gonna go ahead and do a valve adjustment and then keep adding stuff on as it goes. So we have our new water pump. There are two different style water pumps for the B series motor. You can tell what they are based off of the tooth count. This is a 22 tooth count. The difference is some of the other ones have a lower count, and that causes a different RPM based off of the timing belt and everything here. So this is the one we need. You have two longer bolts. They go here and down here at the bottom. Boom. All right, so we have the cams installed. We use some ultra slick Permtex assembly lube on here to make sure when we start it up, we don't have any direct metal on metal contact before the oil gets to it. All the valve trains in. We replaced our O-ring. I lost the dowel pin that goes right here on this middle piece, and that's what sends the oil pressure up into the top here. So we got all that replaced in there. Now we're gonna throw the side cover on over here, like so. I gotta get a couple bolts for it. Then we'll put our cam gears on, run our timing, install our side post mount, and then do a valve adjustment. And this part of it will be done. Then we have to put some more goodies on there, like our extended studs, because when the supercharger goes on there, we wanna make sure the extra weight of that manifold doesn't cause any issues. And also, since we're running a thermal gasket, it's a little bit thicker than the factory paper gasket. We don't want to run out of threads. So far everything's moving good. Let's keep on moving. Camp gears. All right, so we're ready to do the valve adjustment. We have our feeler gauges here. One is for 7 thousandths, and the other one is for, I should say 700ths, I think it is, right? And 800ths. 7 is gonna be for the intake, 8's gonna be for the exhaust. And we fit this right here on the cam lobe, not on the VTEC lobe, but on the cam lobe on either side. And we can already tell they're too tight, which is what you would expect after having the head completely machined and new Valvetrain put in there. We have the cam set to TDC number 1. That's number 1 right here. Everything's together, and we're on our mark down here. So we're going to start at 1 and then work our way through the firing out order, which I think is 1, 3, 4, 2. So let's go ahead and do it. All right, here. So what we have is a set of blocks extended intake manifold studs. And what it is they're a little bit longer, and they do come with a really nice 12-point hardware, there's an Allen key to install them. The reason I'm going with this is 2 reasons. First off, I'm running a thermal gasket. It's much thicker than the factory paper gasket. And what that does is it gives you a lot less threads on the factory studs. You can see the factory stud here in comparison to the extended stud. And also, I need something with a little more beef to it, because when the supercharger goes on here, it's going to be putting a lot of tension on the studs. There's also going to be a support, but I want to make sure we have no issues here, or that it doesn't sit properly and puts too much stress on the intake manifold gasket. Even though we're just putting the stock intake manifold on it now, this is stuff I'm going to do now so I don't have to do it later. So this is going to be real easy to install. All right, so we wrapped up all the assembly on the motor. We got some accessories on it. There's still some more that's going on, like a AC bracket over here. But now we're moving on to the fuel system. And as you can see on here, everything is original, stock injectors, original fuel rail. But we got some goodies over here on the table that we're going to be replacing on there. So we're going to start off with a nice radium fuel rail and all the other accessories that go with it. A lot of that stuff's not going to mount on the fuel rail directly because it's not going to interfere at the moment with this intake manifold, but when the supercharger eventually goes on, it does make for some interference. So we designed a different fuel system for it. When it's time to put it in the car, we'll go over that a little bit more. We also have some 1050cc injector dynamic injectors. These are going to hopefully give us way more fuel than what we need for the system. We're also doing a coil unplug setup on here. These are our coils. This is our coil plate. And this is the coil unplug system that I chose to go with. This is a plug-and-play system. No modification to the car whatsoever is needed to do this. It's made by a company called Dizzy. They're pretty cool. System's super easy. Total plug and play. Nothing needs to get soldered into the computer or any special program. You could put this on a bone stock car with a stock ECU and it'll work. So let's go ahead and start putting some of this stuff on. All right, so what we have here is the budget tuck harness from Rywire. This is a very economical harness. The reason it's budget is because none of the wires are individually colored on it. Instead of them being individually colored like your factory harness, everything's kind of put together in a little bit cheaper fashion as far as that goes, but not in the quality. It's still all mil-spec wiring and everything is labeled, and it does have the nice loom on it. So this is the one I chose to go with because it's the one I could afford, and I think it works pretty nice. So let's go ahead and set it up.
Well guys, just like that, John able to put the entire B18C motor back together.
All on my own without any help either. But so we got it back together. There's more stuff that we'll be doing as the motor goes in, probably changing some of our hardware out, adding a few things here and there. We have to add in our injector dynamic clips. Those have to be crimped in. But for the most part, all the heavy lifting hard work is done as far as this goes. We'll do our clutch, mount the transmission. That'll be on another episode because the next thing coming, ooh, it's gonna be a nice one and hopefully catch a few people by surprise.
Well, in the next episode, we'll be taking John's EG hatchback to the paint shop with a very, very special color.
Oh yeah, I can tell you this, it's red. It's red, but it's special red.
It's definitely a special red with a very beautiful pearl.
Oh yeah.
You guys definitely don't want to miss. Make sure you guys are subscribing to the channel. Give us a thumbs up and also drop a comment below and let us know how we are doing. And we're gonna wrap today's video up, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We hope to see all of you next week.